I am racist.
So idiot for
And
real.
you are a Nick.
You are an idiot. No,
I
I'm
am
not.
racist, and I'll say that to the whole entire world. Don't be disrespectful.
You ruined your life, by the way.
Oh, talking about
Bye.
you talking about respect? You talking about respect? You are fired from this place, motherfucker. You're not gonna be working here.
Suck it.
Suck what?
I am racist.
All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the artists of Great Millstone, who are not just true from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today, I just want to do a quick lesson, on this incident of, the woman that was fired from Cinnabon, for making, some racial remarks toward, some Somalians, and, she pretty much went on a racial rant, calling them the N-word, this, that, and the third, and it just goes to show you that each time, and it's always, a woman, an Edomite woman, when she does, things like this, goes on racial rants, what do? They raise money for her. Because they know for a fact that wherever she works, she's going to be fired. And, people are going to scold her for it, right? Because that's what Esau does, man. They're not in trouble as other men, which I'm going to bring out that scripture. So Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point, and I'm just going to bring out a couple of scriptures. I'm not going to make this too long, but it says, Cinnabon worker fired after racist incident caught on camera, then raises over $50,000 online for being racist. It's actually more than that now. So this is Cinnabon's response on X, formerly known as Twitter. It says, we've seen the disturbing video from the Cinnabon Bakery in Ashwaubenon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Wisconsin, and we do not condone this behavior. The former employee was immediately terminated by the franchise owner. Their actions do not reflect our values or the welcoming experience every guest deserves, right? And then look, it says stand with Crystal, right? The goal is to raise $100,000 for this woman, right? Which I'm pretty sure it's at about 90. If not, she's, reached that goal of $100,000, right? And it was started by, some guy named Tom Hennessy, right? So it says, meet Crystal, hardworking, white, and just have to make sure he threw white in there, right? Hardworking, white mom doing her job at Cinnabon. Two Somali customers decide to make her shift hell with intimidation. How was she intimidated? They didn't show that part because obviously, she had to, be going on the rant before they started recording, But even if they were antagonizing her, that's still no reason to sit here and say what you said. But, it says instead of banning the offenders and backing their employees, Cinnabon fires Crystal to keep the nons happy. The nons, what the fuck? It says we're letting this slide. That's like you. We're not letting this slide. Funds go to making sure Crystal lands on her feet after this betrayal. No white person should lose their job for refusing to be harassed by Somalians. How was she being harassed? And it just goes to show you the pride of the nation of Edom, man. I said no white person deserve, or should lose their job for being harassed. Well, she wasn't being harassed. I'm sure they just came to get their cinnamon buns and go on their way, but she decided to, hurl the N-word at them. Now, we don't know. Well, I haven't seen a picture of them. Now, if these particular Somalians aren't Israelite foreigners, then, we don't really care, about them. But still, that just goes to show you the hatred that the nation of Edom has toward us. And when I say us, the biblical Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and especially the tribe of Judah, so-called Negroes, man. He has a particular hatred for us in general, man. Though he hates all the tribes, he especially hates Judah, and it just goes to show you, like, there is a perpetual hatred, even if it didn't even have anything to do with us, they're still going to find a way to, come up against us. She's calling them, the hard R. But, this just goes to show the hypocrisy of America, right? Now they raised 100,000 for this woman for getting fired, for her racial remarks. And just like the other women, I forget where it was. I think it was in Minnesota. It was earlier this year. Same thing, calling a little Jake boy, the N-word. Then what? Oh, she moved, and then they started a GoFundMe for her. Like Esau, Edom, man, you're like, you really not shit, bro. And we know this. But at the same time, you'll do anything to protect your precious white woman, But what? She's still flocking to us. Even in our lowest state, man, your women are still flocking to us. And I just seen the video earlier. Where, the a black woman interviewing, these two Edomite men. She asked them what's red flags, when dating. And both of them kept saying, oh, well, if, and they were talking about white women, if, she's dealt with a black guy before them, then, it's a red flag. Like, you dudes' feelings is really hurt when y'all get y'all women took by us, or if y'all find out your women have been dealing with us. And one of them even said it. Oh, yeah, man, once you go black, you never go back. Well, deal with it. Your women, they don't love you like they used to, because it's starting to become more and more common where you're starting to see Jake men with Edomite women, but that's not the Slakia, the topic of this, lesson, but still, this is the woman right here. And then whoever made this guy, Tom Hennessy, whoever this guy is, making it seem as if, she's just working so hard to support her children and this and that. Well, first off, where is her husband? Because if she has kids, she didn't create them by herself. So where is her husband? Is she a single mother? And if so, where's the father at? Does he condone this behavior? Does he know that, she displays this type of behavior? But, this is just what you people do. You hate us and then, do things like this and then reward your own people for this. But meanwhile, when it's whatever, man. It's whatever. I ain't even going to rain on this too long, but it's just goes to show you that double standard, man, that they have here. You're quick to help your own people, concerning this type of situation, but, your people out there that are actually struggling, where y'all be at, It's Edomites out here that are homeless, veterans out here. Y'all ain't in a rush to start GoFundMes for them, But a woman, a white woman, that was recorded on video, yet again, hurling racial slurs, at people of color. You're quick to raise a GoFundMe for her. Man, please. So, like I said, I ain't want to make this too long. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 73, and verse 5, and it says, they are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. And right, man, they're not in trouble of other men, and that they that I'm referring to is the nation of Edom, you so-called white people, because right now, this is your world, this is your kingdom. So obviously, the lesser, peons of you people, you're not gonna, from the higher ups to even, the low level peons, man, you don't suffer the way other people suffer. You're not in trouble as other men. That's why when Edomites, get caught for a crime, an Israelite man and a so-called white man, can commit the same crime, but who's going to get the harsher sentence? The Israelite man. Why? One, because he's up under the curses, and two, because again, Esau, Edom is in power, so of course he's going to give, one of his own, a lesser sentence, if not a slap on the wrist, may give him probation or something, But this woman was fired from her job for, calling two Somalians the N-word. And then immediately after, some guy starts to go GoFundMe for her and is damn near, if not already, raised $100,000 for her so she can, land on her feet comfortably, like he said. It's bullshit. Excuse me, Slakia. Verse 6, it says, therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain. Violence covereth them as a garment. And right, man, they're a proud nation of people. And it's not hard to see. You can clearly see that this is just how they are, man. They're a proud nation of people that the Lord is going to take out. Just roughly paraphrasing what the scripture says, it says, why is earth and ashes proud? Because that's one thing Esau Edom does, man. You're a proud nation of people, but yet you didn't even build your own country. The very people that you hate the most and that you still currently have in captivity built this country. We are what made this country great, but yet what? You still shit on us, You got, the younger generation of you Edomites. Oh, well, why don't black people, which I mentioned that camp, because I seen a video, not too long ago, young Edomite dude. Oh, well, why don't black people, have their own thriving community? Because each time we've tried, you people came through and destroyed it. One of the most notable examples of this is always going to be, Black Wall Street. Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is not the only one. That's not the only time you've done this, There's numerous, so-called black towns in which, we were amongst ourselves, had a thriving community, businesses, had everything we needed except for a military, But what did you do? You saw that, we were prospering, after literally just being let out of slavery, years later, slavery so-called ended in 1865, so they say. But those of our people, that were slaves, I just say Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was in 1921, if I'm not mistaken. So about 60 years later, 60 years removed from slavery, we got our own thriving community, and then what? You see us prospering and you come through and destroy it because you have that same mentality that, Pharaoh in the book of Exodus had, that if we multiply, then, we're going to take you over, which I'm going to grab that real quick. This is the book of Exodus chapter 1 and verse 9, and it says, and he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. And right, man, the Esau, you have the same mentality, that Pharaoh had, which, some still speculate, this particular Pharaoh, was Ramses II, aka Ramses the Great, the Pharaoh that put hell on us in ancient Egypt. And also, that Jake, talking about the Israelites didn't go into slavery to the Egyptians, you're a fucking idiot. I'm going to just say it bluntly, man. You're a fucking moron. The entire book of Exodus talks about how we were delivered out of Egypt. First how we served bondage and then how we delivered out of Egypt. So he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a fucking idiot. But that's that same mentality that you have, Esau. The same mentality that Pharaoh had. If we let this people alone, they're going to multiply and then they're going to overtake us, which is why, again, you still have us in these horrendous conditions, here in America alone. You have our people still living in these hoods, these ghettos, these projects, drugs throughout the community, gang violence, these different things that you have done unto us, just to keep us in this lower state, but you don't count on, the Lord having a remnant that is going to be saved from out of your clutches, But again, man, you people, your day is coming, because the time that we're coming into, especially for you women, no man is going to be able to bail you out, because all you Edomite women, that were racist, hurling the N-word at children, and, different Israelite men and women, hell, even in other nations, that may not be Israelites, but, they're dark skinned. Just know that your day is coming, Now, I'm not advocating violence at all. I'm just simply telling the truth, man, that a lot of you out there, you're going to get what you deserve, man. Because once all hell breaks loose, there's not going to be a GoFundMe to help you. There's not going to be any 911, Because again, man, the Lord, he's going to stir up the spirit and these niggas out here to come after you, even these different nations, man. And there's going to be a race war, different class wars and things going on out here. But just know that, hell, the wicked of our people, they're going to be getting down on some of y'all too, So don't think that y'all going to continue with this type of behavior for long. So I'm going to end it with this. It's the book of Genesis chapter 49 verse 9. And it says, Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He has stooped down. It's like he stooped down. He couched as a lion and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up? And right, man, even though, again, they were Somalian, if they're not Israelite foreigners, that just happen to, be from that particular country, these particular things should stir you jakes up, man. It should make you angry at the fact that, this woman hurled racial insults at these two individuals just to sit and get over $100,000, fired from her job, which she doesn't give a damn, because she don't have to work now. Even though $100,000 realistically isn't a lot of money, she can still, survive off of it, for a period of time, But, her judgment is going to come very soon, just like your entire nation, man. Your judgment is coming. So enjoy it now while it lasts. So I'm going to give our praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the artists of Great Millstone, who are let this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say, Shalom.